Yo, what's up guys? My name is Kade Speiser. I'm here at Famous Birthdays. We're gonna do a little question and answer session. If you don't know who I am, I'm a social media creator, videographer, cinematographer, a lot of things really. I'm 23 years old, originally from Michigan, but I am here today to answer some of your questions. So I have a cup here, pencil holder some might call it, full of pieces of paper with questions that I'm gonna answer for you. So let's get right into it. First one. What was your dream job as a kid? Ooh, this is a really good question. For a little while, I wanted to be a pilot. I used to think that that was the coolest thing you could do. I still think it's the coolest thing you could do. Flight still really interests me, and I always wanted to be a pilot. My friend and I both did, and my cousin was an inspiration of mine, ended up becoming a pilot, and so I think that's why I kind of wanted to pursue it. Yeah, I'm here now, so I'm not flying planes anywhere, but I still think that would be a pretty cool job. When did you become interested in photography and film? That's also a good question. I kind of fell into it a little bit. My journey with filming anything at all started with like snowboarding. I would put a GoPro on my helmet and it was terrible footage and really shaky, and I never edited it or did anything with it, but that was the first time I ever really filmed anything. And then once I moved out to Los Angeles, my good friend Spencer Taylor moved in with me for a little bit, and he had graduated from Michigan State with a film degree, and he kind of just asked me to help him on shoots that he already had lined up, and it snowballed really heavily. I learned to edit, I got a camera, and I just has kind of never looked back ever since and realized it's something that I love to do. And with his help and the help of YouTube, taught myself basically everything that I know today. So what inspired you to start a YouTube channel? A few things inspired me to start a YouTube channel. First of which I would say is my friends. At the time that I wanted to start a YouTube channel, I was hanging out with a lot of people who were doing YouTube, so it didn't seem that far-fetched to start a YouTube channel. Also, I just felt like I would be able to take a different angle to YouTube and do it my way, and kind of be able to use my creativity and my love of film and videography to kind of give my outlook and my spin on stuff that I thought was cool, and that's what I think I'm still doing today. So I would say my friends, mixed with the fact that I knew how to shoot and edit, was pretty easy for me to start a YouTube channel. What are your biggest pet peeves? Ooh. The first one that comes to mind is wet socks. I don't know why I hate this so much, but I have a passion for hating wet socks. I think it's because I grew up in Michigan where there's a lot of snow, and in the winter you would take your boots off, but you would track snow in the house and then you would step on it. I don't know why. That's definitely one that comes to mind. Another is biting nails. I swat people's hands away from their mouth when they bite their nails. I don't know, I just don't like seeing it or hearing it. So wet socks is definitely way surpassed biting nails. That's a weird one, I think, but if I get wet socks, man, it's all over. Tell us about one of your favorite birthdays. Oh man, I've had so many of them. It's so hard to, no, I'm just kidding. One of my favorite birthdays, I think my 18th birthday. My girlfriend at the time threw me a surprise birthday party on my 18th birthday, and I legitimately had no clue. It was a full-on surprise. I don't know, if you've ever had a surprise party thrown for you, you know that it's a great feeling because it makes you feel like a lot of people care about you. But she did an incredible job setting up a surprise birthday party for me, and I think this was my 18th birthday, and all of my best friends were there, and I had no idea. And I just think of one of those, that one, as one of my best birthdays. Or when I was 8, I had a pretty sick Pokemon cake, so it's a toss-up. 10 years earlier, 18, I don't know, one of those two. Moving on. Next one. Can you tell us about your podcast with Nick Crompton? Yes, I can tell you about that. Nick Crompton and I are starting a podcast called The New World Order. It's going to be awesome. We already have recorded a couple episodes. It should be live by the time you're seeing this. Check us out. We'll be on all the major platforms. Nick and I get to talk about some really, really cool stuff and get to take a really fresh angle on a lot of topical things that I don't think anyone has heard Nick and I talk in this manner or about things like this. So I think it'll be really interesting for you guys to hear us speak on these things and the way we do. I think people will be surprised by the content inside of it, but all in all, very interesting. We have a ton of fun doing it. We used to have long conversations, like prior to anything podcast, we would just sit and talk and get carried away forever on these really deep subjects. So we figured that we could just record it and turn it into a podcast. It'll be pretty interesting, and it is. So go check out New World Order, Spotify, podcast on iTunes. I mean, anywhere you can find it, you can find it. What is your dream car? Ooh, this is a good question. I'm very into cars. Like, I'm a fanatic about vehicles. Like, I know all the makes and models. It's something I've always been into since I was little. I currently own one of my dream cars, or like my first dream car. It's a BMW M2. I'm absolutely in love with it. It's I don't know, it's beautiful. I look at it every time. I take pictures. I take too many pictures of it. I post about it. I'm probably kind of annoying. But like my super next level, like billionaire's dream car, I don't know. It changes all the time, but maybe like a McLaren 720S. I don't know. It's a beautiful car. I could probably go on for the rest of the Q&A just about cars, so we're just gonna call it that and stop. What is one of your favorite memories from 2018? Whew. Man, I'm really bad with time. I'm gonna preface this answer with saying that my recollection of like when things happened are terrible. So I'm gonna have to try to like figure out what things happened in this past year. That wasn't like 2017. I just got back from Tokyo not too long ago, and that was amazing. I haven't been back to Japan since I was pretty little, so going to Japan, I had a phenomenal time with a bunch of cool guys. We got to see a race. We were running around in Tokyo with some people who were locals, so we saw the coolest spots, like the best restaurants. We got to ride bikes around Tokyo. Anyway, I don't know, that was a highlight. I love Japan, I love traveling, so that was definitely a big one for 2018. Spending like almost 2 weeks in Japan I had a lot of fun. That was dope. What do you find most challenging about social media in today's world? That's a good question, and I think it's something good to touch on. Social media is really tough right now because it's changing every day, and us as creators are at the mercy of algorithms and essentially math problems. So something that we used to know and do yesterday might not work today. And no one gets updated about what changes. It just changes. And so we're kind of left high and dry to figure out why we're making half as much money on YouTube, or why our likes are down, or why we're gaining followers, or why we're losing followers. So social media as an entire landscape is a very unpredictable thing, being that it's never been done before on this scale. And also all of the platforms that we create content on and most of us make a living on are changing literally every day. So it's kind of tough to be stable on, a shaky platform. I call it building a skyscraper on sand. You never know. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? These are great questions. You guys did a good job. The next 5 years, that's a good question. I think I want to be in a more like directive role with like film, and stepping away from being in front of the camera and moving to a position where I have a say of what's going on behind the camera. I think also using my knowledge of social media that I built up until this point to build something that hasn't been done in the space yet, I think can be very valuable. So I don't know, man. I want to be an owner of my own business, because even if you are a social media creator, you're still working for these platforms technically, as much freedom as you have. So not being at the mercy of this stuff and building something that's my own, and being in charge of something and having something to build up my own, I think will be the direction I'm headed. Definitely involving film, marketing, and social in some aspect, just because that's what I know and that's what I spent the last few years of my life doing. So I know that that's something I have a knowledge base built around. So somewhere in that general direction, we're figuring it out. What other hobbies do you have? Kind of like going back to driving. I have like a big group of friends that we just go driving sometimes with all of our cool cars, and we always follow the laws, obviously. I like to drive. I like to do a lot of the stuff I do on camera. I film myself doing are also like a lot of my hobbies. I still try to play soccer all the time. Traveling, I guess, kind of is a hobby of mine in a weird way, but I film a lot of that. So I don't know, making videos is a hobby of mine that is kind of also a job, so that's a weird thing. So a lot of my hobbies are kind of displayed through what I do. I get to turn some of my hobbies into my job, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, that stuff. Okay, what advice would you give your younger self? Invest in Bitcoin. That's a pretty standard response. No, funny story. I wanted to invest in Bitcoin when it was really cheap and I was young and I had no money and I couldn't, you know, so maybe I should have just mowed lawns and invested in Bitcoin. No, I don't know. Start social media sooner would be a good one. I didn't care about it until I started to gain followers, which is weird, but maybe like, you know, being a Viner or something. I don't know. Start social media younger, I guess, is a good one. Don't listen to everybody when they tell you that you have to do something, because everyone's journey is kind of different. So when you're young, you tend to get pushed in the directions of places that other people want you to go. And I think it's important to just kind of follow like what you wanted to do. And if I would have followed like what I wanted to do younger, I could be even more successful today. But no regrets ever. What is one fact a lot of people don't know about you? Oh, this is a tough one. I put a lot of what I do in life on the internet, so I feel like not a lot of what I do is a secret anymore. So it's kind of tough to even remember what I've made videos about and what I've said about myself in videos that isn't even a secret. So this is kind of a tough question. I don't know like what category this falls under, but like when I was younger, I played soccer my entire life, and I got stitches in my eyelid. Actually, I got kicked in the face and like my eyelid split open. It's pretty gross. It's getting graphic, kids, but I had stitches in my eyelid for like a week. Like my eye was like shut. I got an eye patch for a little bit, the whole 9 yards. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird story I've never talked about. Kind of a gnarly story also, like getting kicked in the face and having to have your eyelid stitched back. Yeah, that's kind of gross when you say it like that. But I don't never really talked about that, and I guess it's kind of crazy. So I guess people didn't know that about me. Okay, what is your least favorite social media platform? Maybe like Musical.ly or now TikTok, I guess. I don't know. I just never used it. I never had followers on it. Or like Facebook. I really don't like Twitter actually, because it's a very toxic environment. Like Twitter is a very negative social media space. So I have followers on Twitter and I use it, but I feel like I don't like it because you never see anything positive on Twitter. Like no one is like cheering people on. Like none of your replies I feel like are anyone being excited about you. It's just like, I feel like you're always getting roasted on Twitter. So I might say Twitter just because it's like generally very toxic environment on Twitter. All right, last question, last but not least. Is it a good one? It is a good one. What is one of your greatest achievements? Oof. I mean, I don't know, like the day I hit 1 million followers, that's like pretty crazy and surreal, and still is like surreal to me that many people care about me. That was a really big deal to me. The day I bought my dream car was like a really big deal to me. I know these are all kind of like selfish like achievements, but I just, you know, recall how I felt on those days being like, wow, you know, thinking that stuff like this would never happen, and then having it happen, or you know, seeing it happen is always a very surreal moment. Something you have to like keep pinching yourself to realize that it actually happened, or it's real life. It's not a dream. I don't know. I think one of my greatest achievements also is the fact that you know, my friend and I set out to build a YouTube channel, and when we started, he had like 300,000 subscribers, and then by the time we were finished, I mean, it's not finished, but by the time I moved on to a different project, it was over like 8 million subscribers. So, you know, being able to take part and work on something that went from something that small to something that big, and knowing how much work you put into something like that, and then seeing it, the finished product, and even seeing it be twice that size today, is pretty surreal. Just like seeing something you worked incredibly hard on, like have a return or grow or build is a very gratifying feeling. So I don't know, that's pretty crazy. Also, like making a video that had 100 million views. I remember when I first, it wasn't my own, I'm not gonna say that, but that was a really big deal to me too. I don't know, a lot of stuff. Like I can't pick one greatest thing, and none of those are necessarily society or world changing, but it's pretty cool to me. I think it's pretty cool. Well, guys, that's all of the questions we have today for you. Sorry, I'm making a mess. Thank you so much, Famous Birthdays, for having me out here. I'm glad that you guys got to learn a little bit more about me. Before I head out of here, like I said, go check out Nick Crompton and I's new podcast, New World Order, available on all the podcast networks, as well as my socials, at Kade on Instagram and Kade Speiser on YouTube, posting videos there. So if you guys want to learn more about me, check out what I'm doing, follow me, and tune in. And it has been great getting to answer questions for you guys. Thank you so much for having me. Peace out.